Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share my unboxing and first look at the Razer Blade Stealth 13. This is the top-of-the-line model, so we've got a 4K touchscreen display. Of course, more importantly, we've got the GTX 1650 Max-Q and the Intel 10th Gen Ice Lake Core i7-1065 G7. So without further ado, let's take a look at this machine. Again, it retails for $19.99. So a little under 2,000 US dollars. And as far as 13-inch ultrabooks go, this is about as powerful as we're going to get. It is the 15-watt version of the 1065 G7. This is not the 25 watt. If you go for the option without the GPU, then you will have the 25 watt version. So they're giving you a little more processing power since you are forfeiting, of course, the GPU power. One Thunderbolt 3 port on here. The other Type-C port is, a second gen. It is not the latest and greatest, so you'll be using that with the included 100 watt charger. If you go with the 25 watt version of this that does not have a GPU, then you will get the 65 watt charger, which is more common in the Ultrabook world. So black finish on this. Again, I didn't mention 16 gigs of RAM. It is soldered on, for those of you that are wondering. Intel's Wi-Fi 6 chip is on board. And let's see if I can take this out without mangling anything. This is the power brick, I assume, fairly heavy. Let's take a look at that. And again, 100 watts means, wow, there's a lot coming out of this, that it is going to be basically the size of a traditional power brick. And it's a braided cable. It almost felt like rubber at the beginning, but it's braided, and you can see the Type-C right there. And of course, I know that we're going to also have the power cord here that goes to the wall. And so we've got our charging solution over there. Let me move this out of the way. And this is an exciting machine because this is, as I mentioned, the most powerful 13.3-inch Ultrabook that I think has ever been made. And from what I've read, from all the reviews that I've seen thus far, it stays cool, it stays quiet, and that's a really big deal considering this is a powerhouse in its class. So let's take it out. The 0.5 terabyte drive, which is at the top end configuration, you can actually replace that. As I mentioned, the RAM is soldered, so that's not going to happen. Some paperwork here. I'm going to go ahead and put this aside. And look, at $2,000, this is very expensive, but there is nothing else that's going to match it in the marketplace. In fact, anything else that you look at and try to compare with this Razer Blade Stealth 13 is basically going to compromise where it does not. Now, I'm sure in the future, a little bit of dust there, we will see alternatives to this machine, but for the time being, this is where it's at. So before I power it up, let's take a quick tour. So we've got a Type-C port there, Type-A right there, coming around the front of the machine, the lip for opening it up. On the other side, another Type-C port. This, I believe, is the Thunderbolt port, but I may have it inverted. And as I mentioned, you'll be using Type-C for charging, another Type-A, and a 3.5mm headphone jack. And that's pretty much it. Clean design, as you would expect from Razer. You can see the fans back there, as well as ventilation along the spine here. And, of course, the Razer logo front and center. So let's go ahead and open this up. Let's see what we're working with. I can already tell you the build quality seems very nice. I expected that from Razer, though. This is not my first Razer machine. I covered the Blade in the past, and I really do like what they do. I do wish that this machine had a micro SD card slot at least, but Razer really has never done that, so I'm in no way surprised that we don't have that here. Bezels have been shrunken down very nicely. And you can see right here the specs, again, the GTX 1650 with 4 gigs of GDDR5 RAM, and of course the 10th gen i7-1065 G7. And this is likely going to be, by the way, there's the Thunderbolt 3, so it is on the right side. The one on the left is strictly connectivity and power delivery. So let's go ahead and power this on, if it's got any juice. I hope it does. and it appears it's dead on arrival, which is disappointing. And I'm surprised because this literally just arrived today, but I'm also not shocked. It's not the first laptop I'm looking at that's dead on arrival. But for all intents and purposes, I will get this charged up. We'll take a look at the, of course, display quality, which I have high hopes for. I mean, I don't know if you can see it, but up here, it's not only listing that it's, of course, a UHD panel, but also that it covers 100% of the sRGB spectrum. From what I've seen, this is a solid panel in terms of color accuracy, and that's another important thing to me. And if you want to do more than gaming, video editing, Photoshop, this machine will inherently benefit from the fact that it's got not the Intel Iris Plus graphics, but that it's leaning on an NVIDIA GTX 1650. So I think that is a pretty nice thing to have in an ultra portable. And, you know, this is likely going to be the last one that I look at. Many of you have been following my coverage. I just recently put up a video on the Inspiron 13 7000 model, which is an 8th gen Core i7. Here we're back in the 10th gen. But again, this differentiates itself from all other machines in that it has a far more powerful outfit with that dedicated graphics that generally you would find on desktop replacements. For example, if I went to the Yoga C940 in the 15.6-inch variety, or if I went to the Spectre, the HP Spectre in the 15-inch variety, that's where you would find the 1650. So to have the 1650 in a machine this small, this light, still accomplish the same battery life, it's an impressive feat. Very large touchpad. I'm just excited to see how this thing performs and put it through its paces. Of course, benchmark it, test it out. I've heard it doesn't have a tremendous amount of headroom, but at least at first glance, I'm really liking what I'm seeing. And I have to say, whatever they did with this matte black finish, it's not a fingerprint magnet like everything else that generally has this color scheme. So I'm impressed with what Razer did. I mean, my fingers are leaving something, but it doesn't look like, you know, an accident happened, so to speak, because the other matte black finishes get really dirty. So I really like this machine already, and I'm gonna go charge it up, and I'll probably have an update today or tomorrow on it, because after all, this is an exciting piece of kit. It's very expensive, but I gotta believe, as I have in the past with Razer products, you get what you pay for. Granted, this is a lot of money for a, you know, an ultrabook build, but the fact that it basically steps into desktop replacement class is really the appeal to this machine. And of course, if you don't want the 4K display, you can scale it down and go with the full HD display, because that's really all the gaming that this machine is going to be capable of. I mean, you're not going to be able to game in 4K, but if you're like me, you want a blend of gaming, photo and video editing, the 4K display will certainly be a better option, since it has not only extra resolution, but the color accuracy and brightness, to my knowledge, is superior over the full HD, which is nothing new. That's what you'll find with most manufacturers. But hope you all enjoyed the video. Hit that like button. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to post them. And as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.